To work with masks, let's open up Substance Painter and click on Start Painting. You can bring in your model if you have a 3D model to work with. Here, what I'm going to do is to get rid of the base and body by hiding these layers. We already have a layer called layer 1, so let's use that layer. First thing I'm going to do is to quickly add some paint to this object. To do that, I'll just go over here and scroll down to the color, and let's change the base color. I'll set this to something like yellow or green. Next, if I go to the assets and kind of like open this window and click on brushes, we can pick any of these brushes. Let's see this charcoal brush, and then we can use that to paint along this object like so. I want this to be visible, so I'll just try to make this slightly dark like so. So I've painted this and I've made a mess of the paint. I have some of the paint kind of like spilling around. So how can I solve that? I can use a mask to hide the sections of the paint I don't want to see. I can either use a white mask or a black mask. If I click on a white mask, it's going to reveal everything and I can still see my content. But when I'm on the mask layer and I start painting, I'm actually going to hide away everything. So if I go over this edge and start painting over here, I'm using the black color right here for this brush. I'm using a black material to hide this face, this paint layer like so. You can alt click into a mask and see what you're doing. Basically, you're using black to hide the pixels on your paint layer. Let's go ahead and see another simple example. I'll click on the paint layer again and hide this paint layer at the bottom. Let's go to our assets and let's change it to another kind of brush. It could be any kind of brush, it doesn't matter, and let's paint this here. So we've actually painted on this face, something very simple, and let's add a black mask. I'll go to the Add Mask button and click on Add a Black Mask. If I add a black mask, it's going to hide my entire painting. Don't panic, it's still there. It just means that the mask is black. If we go back to the properties, and to reveal it, you need to set your brush to white to reveal it. Already it's been set to white, so by the time we start drawing, we are only going to reveal what we've already painted. If we paint at the back, we won't see anything because we don't have any paint information here. So if I go back to the paint layer and paint some of this, if I get back to my mask, I could just start revealing stuff of what I've painted. If I want to hide this, I'll just press X to switch to black, and let's just hide everything we've revealed here. You can use masks to act like erasers. You can even stack or layer paints together. If I open this, you can actually see we're stacking and layering what we've created right here. We can also generate masks automatically. To work with an auto-generated mask, let's go ahead and do this. Let's create a fill layer, and let's fill this with a specific color. We could use any color, so let's just use this green like so and just fill this up. To use a generated mask, first we need to create the mask. So I'll add a black mask, and this is going to hide everything. I want to use an effect on this mask or generate this mask. To do that, let's go over here to Effect and let's click Add a Generator. The generator is empty, so let's go over here at the properties and click on a generator. What I can do is to click on this dirt layer. If I click on the dirt, it's going to simulate dirt hiding in cavities on this object like so. So this is actually a mask that has been created for us. If we click on this, we can actually see the material that is creating this mask for us, which was automatically generated. If we get back to the material, we can actually see this. So how does this become important? Well, let's create a base layer, fill layer. So let's go to fill and let's click on this red, and let's just put this red underneath this guy. So what's happening is this. we've created this dirt layer, and this fill layer is our base layer right now. It's the layer at the bottom. The green layer is being set at the top, but because we've actually have a generator on this mask, we can generate and simulate dirt layer on this object without painting. And then all we can do is to change the parameters. For instance, we can reduce the dirt level like so. So it just appears on specific edges from our base shape. Next, we can also do things like reduce the intensity. So even if I have this very high, we could reduce the grunge amount. That will also reduce the amount of, kind of like dirt spreading. What we can also do is to stack these together. For instance, we can add another effect and add another generator on this and go to our generator, and we can search for edge detect. Note that sometimes if you have the wrong kind of material, it will not be affected by the object. So let's look at the metal edgeware. This is also a procedural mask. It's a mask, but it's a procedural mask. So what we can do is to begin to change some of these and then drag down the wear contrast. And then we can reduce the grunge scale or increase it, and then reduce the grunge amount so we have less grunge. Another way we can actually also work on this is to go over here and reduce the strength by dragging down the visibility of the layers. So if we drag this, we can actually reduce that, and we can't actually see what's underneath. And we can also change the blend modes. So for instance, for the metal edgeware, I can set this to overlay, and this is going to greatly reduce how it's been affecting our shape. So this looks more natural, and we can always go back and change any settings. We can even use the eyedropper tool and select the same color and then kind of like slightly deviate just to have some of that effect. Right, so click on the mask, dial it down, to reduce or increase the intensity of the effects. And you can always go back to each of these and pump up the wear level, turn up the grunge amount. Let's go to the dirt layer, and we can also do the same. Apart from masks, we can also add filters to our design. So let's go ahead and add this filter. And like I said, it depends on what kind of material you have. Some filters would work better with metallic objects, and some filters will work better with dielectric objects. Let's look at this watercolor filter, and unfortunately it won't work with this object because it's not compatible with the content we're working with. But hopefully this gives you an idea on how you can work with masks and how you can use masks to add generators and add filters as well, and then you can use them to create very awesome and interesting effects to your design. You can dial this down like so. So hopefully this has given you an idea of how masks work in Substance Painter.